Back in the day, back in my day, we longed for the ability to play video games online with our friends on different systems. If you had an Xbox 360 and your buddy had a PS3, well, you weren't going to be able to play together. Crossplay has been experimented with in the mid to late 2000s, but it really started becoming a widespread reality following the success of Fortnite. Since then, a number of major multiplayer games have started supporting crossplay, and the feature is pretty much expected in every multiplayer release now. What's up, everybody? Chaos here. Today, we're going to look at some of the best games available on the market right now that have crossplay. And hopefully, the goal here is to introduce you to a new game for you to play with your buddies that maybe you've never played. Let me know which of these you've played and which you haven't. Drop a like, and I'm sure you've all played this one. Overwatch. Raise your hand if you're excited for Overwatch 2. Now, Blizzard's iconic hero shooter helped redefine the genre for the modern era, and it spawned an entire legion of copycats and wannabes in the coming years. Masterful blend of a hero shooter, arena shooter, and modern PvP shooter comes together in a pretty addicting way. It's had its fair share of issues throughout its life, but it's also maintained an overall feeling of polish. Now, a while back, Blizzard finally caved to longtime fans and added the ability for all platforms to play together, and because of how Overwatch's mechanics work, certain characters they play better with a controller while others play better with a mouse and keyboard, and this kind of creates a really interesting dynamic in cross-play lobbies. Now, I believe ranked mode is still divided up by platform, but everything else in Overwatch now supports crossplay, so go play with your long-lost OW buddies. Dead by Daylight. Released in 2016, it's honestly one of the most influential PvP games in recent memory. Let me explain. It's a horror-based multiplayer game. It helped popularize asymmetrical multiplayer games where one person is super strong and the other players are trying to defeat them or escape by working together. It's still probably the best example of this gameplay formula, and the developers, they've pretty much perfected it over the years. Lots of updates, lots of expansions, a number of famous horror characters are playable in Dead by Daylight. You've got Michael Myers, Freddy Krueger, Leatherface, Pyramid Head, and a ton of others. Plus, there's now cross-play support for the PC, the PS5, the Xbox, and the Switch, so you can literally scare your friends no matter what platform they play on. Final Fantasy XIV. This is probably one of the biggest comeback stories in gaming. Originally, it launched in 2010 to critical panic. It was the second Final Fantasy game to be an MMORPG instead of a standard single-player game, but it was absolutely ripped apart upon release due to the gameplay. I mean, it wasn't good. The UI was bad. The overall feeling was unfinished. The servers were shut down just 2 years later. Square Enix got to work on a complete do-over. Final Fantasy XIV relaunched in 2013 on the PS3 and the PC and has since been ported to the PS4 and the 5. And due to the ever-growing community, it just keeps going. It's one of the best MMOs in the world right now, and the game just seems to be getting more popular with every single major update. There's also now support for crossplay between the PlayStation and the PC. Call of Duty. Now, COD's been in a slump for the last few years, but it's still one of the biggest player bases of any multiplayer franchise, and part of the reason so many people are still playing is crossplay. Modern Warfare 2019 was the first COD game to feature full-on crossplay, and this carried over to every subsequent release, including the extremely popular Warzone. Activision made it very clear that crossplay is here to stay. It's a standard now. With Modern Warfare 2 and Warzone 2 coming up soon, they are likely going to have some of the most populated servers in gaming history. Call of Duty may not be as big as it once was, but with how many COD games there are with crossplay now, you can team up with your buddies. Now, we just need Black Ops 2 Remastered with crossplay. Power Rangers Battle for the Grid. I'm not kidding. I'm really not. It's a fighting game that was originally only released for the Switch and the Xbox One, but has since been ported to the PS4 and the PC. Now, I guess it's on Stadia, but I don't think anybody cares about that except for the ones that are going to come in the comments now and roast me because Stadia is the best thing in the world. Anyway, Battle for the Grid is a fighting game that's basically a giant love letter to Power Rangers as a franchise. You make a little team of 3 characters and you play against someone else in 1v1 fighting. So basically the same gameplay formula as Marvel vs. Capcom, and the character roster is massive. You can play as the different Ranger from throughout the different Power Ranger sub-series, even get to use some fan-favorite villains from the original Mighty Morphin Power Ranger series. Crossplay between the PC, the Xbox, and Switch, it was all added in an update in 2019, so give it a go. Seriously, it's actually slept on. Rocket League. Now, when you think about it, Rocket League's weird. What's even weirder is the fact that it was never sort of the thing I would think would get super popular, but here we are. Rocket League, as you know, is soccer but with rocket-powered RC cars, and it's one of the most addicting games ever made. It originally launched on the PC and the PS4 in 2015, but it's been ported to everything. Everything. I mean, the PC version has fortunately been moved from Steam to the Epic Games Store, but all versions of the game support crossplay. With how ridiculously high the skill ceiling is in this game, you're gonna come across some absolute beasts on this platform. Now, Psyonix are yet to make another game after the release of Rocket League, but honestly, they don't really need to. They just keep going with it. Genshin Impact. Here's a game that took the world by storm. Initially released for the PC and mobile devices in 2020, it's a free-to-play action RPG with a pretty cool world and addicting combat. The game generated more than $3 billion in its first year on the market, making it one of the most successful first years in gaming history. It's been ported to the PS5. A Switch port is currently in development. In late 2021, the developers also added cross-play support between the PC, mobile, and console versions of the game, which boosted the player count even more. The game is super successful for a reason, and it's free to play, and you have cross-play. TMNT, Shredder's Revenge. We already talked about Power Rangers in this video, so let's go with another 90s property with an awesome game. TMNT Shredder's Revenge is a spiritual successor to the original Ninja Turtles arcade games from the 90s, and it does really well. Story simple, visuals are old school, but the combat has actually been updated and expanded upon, making it feel more modern and smooth. There's also a ton of unlockables for you to grind for, which is perfect because this is the kind of game that begs to be replayed multiple times. You don't have to put quarters in, but still. Shredder's Revenge launched on every platform and supports crossplay between the Xbox and the PC versions. Smite. Who remembers Smite? It's one of the games that helped popularize free-to-play multiplayer titles. Originally launched in 2014, heavily piggybacked off games like Dota and League of Legends. It's a MOBA where you pick from a cast of mythical beings and creatures as you go into battle against another team while trying to defend your home base and command your minions. I know, it's nothing new. It's basically baby's first MOBA, maybe? Still a good game. It's one of the few MOBAs that's actually available on consoles. Smite is currently available on PC, Xbox, PlayStation, Switch, and Amazon Luna, and there's a crossplay support between every platform, so you never have to worry about struggling to find a lobby. Smite is a solid game. I think it deserves respect for managing to carve its own niche in the genre. At number 1 today, No Man's Sky. One of the most hated games in the world somehow managed to turn itself around and become one of the most beloved. It was marketed as a near infinite universe for you to explore with tons of things to discover, a really deep survival and crafting mechanic mode. Now we actually got something that was broken in bare bones. It was only a fraction of what was promised. However, after years and years of updates, it's now giving us what we promised, and I respect the team for sticking with it. I do. They could have just taken their sales and their lumps and gone home, but they were dedicated to fixing their reputation, and they did. They totally redeemed themselves. No Man's Sky is a fantastic exploration and survival game, and now there's multiplayer with crossplay. There's never been a better time to go. Now, I don't judge you for holding a grudge against the game, but it's probably time for you to give it one more shot. We should never forget how the game launched, but it's also a great example of how redemption is possible in the gaming world. And there you have it, my friends. Let me know one game that didn't make it that's full-on crossplay, and I'll see you soon.